Sometimes the truth has a knack of making it possible to understand something that's usually too complicated to understand. Which is why the unsuspected adversary of Jaime Carbonell in Carnegie Mellon Computer Translation was so effective. Carbonell specializes in collects and relishes, much as his colleague Martha Hardy Shines collects and relishes revenge stories and strategies. Carbonell collects and relishes misunderstanding caused by computer attempts at translation. Apparently, he was one of the forces in the Pitt CMU Combine who were making the argument that the only people who could understand me were locals, that it was all in the provincial code of language, that no one from the outsiders would ever comprehend the truth about what was done to me or what they were saying I did. Now, it's clear from retrospect available evidence and so forth that when I tried to help myself by publicly challenging the whisper campaign that had devoured what little I even knew, being 98% deaf, about what people were saying about me, for example, and what was happening. A lot of it disturbingly lost in the injuries you see in my face, which were impacted into a neuroplasm and have since been aggravated in a very macabre way by a superbug plaque agent they put in my food deliberately here in Seattle, Tacoma, Code Red College. In those days, it was an impacted neuroplasm they had put there and I didn't know about. But meanwhile, they were circulating stories about me, putting me places I had never been, doing things I hadn't done. And they were selling little asides as semi-true stories about me, sort of making a legend. What we know about this time was that Migna Wen and WQED announced that they were intervening, saying that the only thing that can happen by acknowledging Jimmy Crury, as they used to call me, was to humiliate our Commonwealth. That I was hiding too much and was too humiliated to credit. And that rather than allow that, they were going to suppress me, punish me, and drive me out, and make sure that no one would ever believe me. What was happening for me was that I decided to go public through the Pitt News. This had a very detrimental effect of causing a limelight put on me, a person who had been deliberately humiliated as a hostage of Israeli foreign powers, as a symbol of the United States. And of course, no one in the United States wants to be humiliated. So seeing me in the public was like for them a dare. The British came in and said, let's do it. Let's humiliate him. Let's let him humiliate himself. Why was I doing that? This is the point of the update that I'm providing tonight, which is that I did that because I wanted a light to prevent them from having the power to grossly distort anything further. If there was light on me, maybe somebody would detect what they were doing. As it turned out, nobody did. The worst racists were working with the NAACP because they had a common cause adventure. They drove recklessly at Kelly's school, claiming I was the driver. I wasn't. I was a protesting passenger who dissociated in disbelief, agony, fury. It was like somebody had cut their own lip and then circulated a razor in the apple story about me to cover the fact that they had used terrifying poison on me and continued to do so. Plaque pours from my ears. It's gotten into my already swollen face. I stand a chance of losing my teeth. It's gotten into my jugular vein, my arteries. They did this deliberately. I don't know that it's a murder weapon. You make an observation. You formulate a question. You think of a hypothesis. You make a prediction. And then you test the results. I'm a human vivisection victim. The fact that they tortured me is perfectly evident. And they expect me to cater to them. I don't know what to say, except that I would far, far prefer, at this point, to finish up my life in Massachusetts. If there's anything at all this experience has taught me, it's how deeply JFK reached me when I was young. I know for a fact that we should have let things settle after World War II. It didn't do us any good at all. We did ourselves no favors in rushing to judge societies that were in disarray and trying to prevent anything like that being done to them by the fascist powers ever again. The ironic situation in North Korea is not something I care to address. I leave my very best wishes for them with Joe Biden, who I think is doing a perfectly good job of satisfying them that they are their own people. They make their own decisions. They have no reason to fear that we're going to try to start a war with them ever again. But what concerns me now is understanding that we've made a mistake in the past that we don't have to make in the future. But I also realize that the practical jokers who command a lot of power and authority, who came up with what Jaime Carbonell is doing, actually and actively look for tripwires to cause misunderstanding. I don't think anybody should court misunderstanding when it comes to something as dreadful and shameful as nuclear war. And yet, here we are saving the planet with the very idea. It's hard to credit, and it's extremely hard to accept. And socially, just as a person in this society, I feel very strongly that I don't belong in Tacoma. I would be better off in Massachusetts, which is why I have talked to Worcester College about attending there and finishing school there. Again, when it comes to the question of North Korea, I'm an appreciator of them, but I bear my silence because I know they don't like to be intruded upon. A person like me doesn't fare very well in their society, but then I didn't fare very well in the United States either. Neither did JFK. The possibility of common ground between the world's intellectuals to work together to face the difficult food shortages, the difficult problems in resource management that are coming with climate change as we try to grapple with it. And I think we should be doing this in a hurry, are being railroaded into the clutches of tricksters. This is one of the things that we've seen with Donald Trump. We have tricksters in our society. They're brutal. They have a lot of power. And as you can see by what they did to me, they're merciless. And they're in media. I don't like the situation that we're in with respect to navigating our ability to think openly as a society and discuss things openly as a society under the shadow of nuclear war. All of our best and our brightest, all of our economics should be put to something else. It's a terrible waste. Nobody should have to live under it. I've lived under it all my life. And one of the opening scenes for me, one of the opening acts of all of this diabolicism, was the assassination of the dearly loved John Fitzgerald Kennedy in Dallas. It's difficult to accept. It's difficult to see how we will be able to change ourselves meaningfully. I know we have to try. The people we should be most concerned about, it is true, are the children. There's no question that we need to help them prepare to save the earth. And we need to prepare a generation of teachers who can manage that. And I do have what may be a constructive question about North Korea. If we can master ourselves and go in with the purest and most honest motives as diplomatic advisors and help them with their medical community and their food shortages, will they turn on us, or will they find some way in their hearts to accept us too? I don't know. As again I say, I support Biden and what he does because he's been there, he knows what he's doing. I don't really understand those issues, and I know they prefer not to be talked about by and large, so I won't talk about them any further. However, there are things about them that I do admire. I don't admire anything about nuclear technology. It scares me. It's terrifying. It's wrong. It's hateful. There's nothing we can do about the controversies that exist between us except to do our best to try to learn to live together. If that's controversial, then indeed I'm a controversial person. I don't think it should be controversial that we want to learn to live together in peace. How it became controversial, I don't understand. I've tried to understand, and I don't.